to Thursday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States, and I am so happy to have you here tonight. So let's see if we can get this stream up so I can see the live chat, and then we'll get started. We are going to be using the Meant to Be dies tonight, along with Darling Dinos. It's a new stamp set that Stampin' Up! Brought out January 7th, I believe it was. And I am really enjoying it. And you will find the Meant to Be dies in the scrapbooking brochure and in my online store. So those Meant to Be dies coordinate with the Meant to Be stamp set. We're not using this tonight, but this is the stamp set that they coordinate with, so you can purchase them in a bundle and save 10% off of the individual piece price when you use the bundle item code. Hi, Tracy. Welcome. So I have a very, very cute project. So as I said, I'm going to be using the Meant to Be dies, but I'm going to be using this little heart and then these two hexagons, two smallest in this set. I'll be using Darling Dinos along with the coordinating dies. And this can be purchased in a bundle and save 10% over the individual piece price when you use that code. My sentiments are coming from Choose Happy. I'm going to be using the hello and the love. This is a great little stamp set. It's a standalone. You get all of those neat little images for little cards or whatever, and then all of these sentiments to mix and match. And finally, I needed to find some little grassy pieces, and so I found some in Musical Jamboree. Now, if you don't have this stamp set, no worries. Look at your stash. Find out what you have that will work. And the Darling Dinos does have this little trio of flowers that you could use. It wasn't quite what I had in mind, but it will do the trick if Darling Dinos is all you have. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to make the box first, or do I need to? Yeah, we need to make the box first so it has time to dry. And I designed this from scratch, and just so you know, there are some 16th measurements involved, but I tried to make it as easy as possible. So we've got some strips of paper here, 2 of them. All right, so the first one is 9 1/16. This will be the bottom of our box. And then the other one is 9 1/4 inches, and this is going to be the top of our box. Okay. So these are both 1.5 inch wide. So again, that's 1.5 by 9 1/16 and 1.5 by 9 1/4. All right, so I've got these little templates here. I'm going to score the top using my scoring tool because I can. I recommend that you put this in and then make yourself a template like mine. And then we're going to score on the long side, the 9 1/4, at 1/4, 1 3/4, 3 1/4, 4 3/4, 6 1/4, and 7 3/4. Okay? And then we're going to rotate it to the short side, and you need to score it at 1/4 of an inch. Now, it's 1.5 inches wide. I'm scoring at 1 1/4. That's still 1/4 of an inch. It just is easier to score on this outside than scoring right up close to the thing. So, all right, so now let's bring in the bottom of our box, that shorter piece. And all I can score on this one, I'm going to score on the short side, the 1.5 inch side, at 1 1/4, or if you're scoring on your scoring tool, score it at 1/4 of an inch. Okay? Or on your trimmer, I mean. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Then we're going to bring in our trimmer because we have a lot of 16ths here. I don't normally like to score on the trimmer, but sometimes it's a necessity. Okay, let's see if I can get this arm out because we're going to need that. That's going to be a problem with my camera stand, but we're going to make it work. Okay, so we're at 9. This is 9 1/16, right? So I need to score at 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start that over here on the left, or on the right. I like to score the 1/4 inch here. And I'm just going to give that a score. I'm getting my cutting blade out of the way, scored at 1/4 of an inch. Rotate it. Then we're going to score it at 1 3/4 minus a hair. Now, what that means by minus a hair is I've got 1 3/4 here, and then I've got 12/16 is 1 3/4. So then at 11/16, I'm going to go right between those two 16ths to score that at a 32nd. That's basically what I'm doing, okay? And then we're going to score at 3 3/16. So that's 1 tick mark below 3 1/4. Okay. Then we'll score this at 4 11/16. And that is right here, 1 tick mark below the 3/4. But then I want to pull my cardstock back halfway between the 11/16 and the 10/16. And I'm going to score that. Okay. And then we're going to score at 6 1/8. And if you're using the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, that's the end of the white right here at the arm. And then 7 5/8. And again, we're going to go down just a hair, so between those two 16th inch marks. And we're going to give that a score. All right? Now, I know that's a lot of and a hairs, minus a hair, but that is the best way to make your box fit nice and tight. So this is the box that we're making. And when you pull this apart, the top fits nicely. Slides right in easily, but it doesn't come out. Okay? I don't actually have anything in my box at the moment. But let's go ahead and get started now. We've got those. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these. I'm going to take our scissors after we score on the score marks. So we'll bring this in. Oh, let's see. It looks like somebody else says, oh, crafting at a math lesson too. Yes. You wouldn't believe me trying to design this so that it was nice and tight. I started with the bottom at the 16th smaller on each one, and it just was a little too loose. I didn't like it. So I went back, tried it again. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just pull back a 16th, and then you would, you could just take and pull a 16th off of each of the score marks. But okay, so now we need to make sure which one we have here. Okay, so this is the 9 1/4, this is the top, and this is where we want to start. I'm going to go ahead though, and I'm going to fold these, and I did not score something correctly here. This one is not scored correctly because these are not even. So this third score is not right. What didn't I do right? Okay, let's take a look at that because I didn't do something right here. This is the bottom. Okay, so the bottom piece needs scored at, I do this sometimes. I've got the 1 1/4, or the quarter, then 1 3/4. That one's good. 3 3/16. That one's good. This next one is not good. 4 11/16 should put me right, minus a hair, minus the hair. I should be here. Okay. And then 4 11/16. Yep. And then 6 1/8 is way too far. Oh man. I can't be right. Okay. Hang on. Where is this score? 4 11/16, 6 1/8. Is that 6 1/8? It is right. Okay, hang on. 4 11/16 and 6 1/8 should be right there. Oh yeah, and when you do, no, because this is still, looking at that, we're looking at this one. This one. No, we got something wrong here. I made a whole bunch of these last night. Why is this not working? Let's just start over on this one. For some reason, I don't have that one right. I don't know what I've done wrong, but we're just going to fix it. Or just cut a new one. Because I don't know what I did. I didn't do something right, though, and now I have too many score marks. And it's confusing me. Okay. So we need 9 1/16. Real life crafting here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to score it 1/4 of an inch. Okay, 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to flip this and score at 1 3/4 minus a hair, 1 3/4. That's where I'm at. Okay. 3 3/16. Okay, that. 4 11/16 minus a hair. 6 1/8. 7 5/8 minus a hair. And there we are. Now it looks correct. I don't know what I did. Absolutely don't know. Now we'll score this at 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Oh, thanks, Tracy. Okay, so now let's get this. We'll score this. Remember, this is the bottom of our box. It's real important not to get those messed up. Although I did mess one up the other night, and I still got it to go together pretty nicely, but I prefer to do the top first. It's just a little bit easier to put the bottom together. Okay, so now this is our top. Doesn't matter which one you're doing right now. Okay, so now we need to make some divots, some cut marks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this like this. Okay, so I'm folding it outside to inside, and then I'm going to cut a little angle cut from here to the score line, fold the next one, repeat that process, and you want to take kind of a deep angle, and we're just going to keep doing that. Okay, till we get to the last one. All right, so now what that did was all at once it gave us some V cuts. Now, I still need to do a V cut here and a V cut here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my 1/4 inch panel here. Before I do that, I'm going to cut this little rectangle off the bottom. Okay, I'm going to fold that 1/4 inch panel. I'm going to meet it up with the side here. And then I'm going to cut that. And that way, when they line up, I'll still have that perfect V. Okay, so we've got that one done. Now let's repeat that over here on the second piece. Normally I do this right over my trash can, but then you couldn't see. Okay, so now I'm down. I'm going to cut off this corner rectangle on this tiny 1/4 inch bottom piece there. Fold that in, fold this up to meet, and then give that a nice cut. Okay, let's get rid of some of these stray little pieces. Okay, now let's see which one we have. This is the bottom. This is the 9 1/4 inch piece. So this is our top, and this is our top. Okay, so where these are, this is going to be the top. Where these are, it's going to be the bottom. So we're going to add some designer series paper first because it's easier to put it on when it's flat. I have 6 pieces of designer series paper that are 1 3/8 by 1 1/8 inch. Now, if you have a pattern that matters, you might want to, when you cut them, cut a 1/8 inch strip this way, right? And then cut your 1 3/8 in order. And that way your pattern will stay intact. This pattern doesn't necessarily matter so much. I did keep it intact because I want it to look really nice. So we're just going to take, and remember, this is the top, so this is where you need the top of your pattern. That's very important because if you do it the other way, your pattern is going to be upside down, and that would not be a pretty sight. Okay, so I'm just going to put this. I did make several boxes. Well, I made 3 boxes using all 3 of the different dinos, and 2 of the boxes I did not put designer series paper on. I will show you those at the end. Hopefully I'll remember that. Oftentimes I say that and then I sign off and I don't remember. But we're going to just put these on here. You want to make sure you get your glue in the corners so that when these are on, that they don't lift up in that corner. Okay. So last one. All right, there we go. Okay, now that I've got those on, I'm going to take And I'm going to put a little bit of glue right along. Actually, before I do that, because this is a glue tab, I want to just trim it just a titch, just so that doesn't stick up. Not that it's going to matter much because it's going to be up inside the box. Then we'll put some glue on here. Okay. And then I like to take and fold this down with my fingers like that. Fold this piece up while holding that covered. And because I've used liquid glue now, I can make sure that my corner lines up nice and even. Okay. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and give that a good press so that that adheres. Now it can dry. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my grid so that I've got my points up and down. I'm going to make sure that my side on my grid is on a line and it's straight. Then I'm going to take the second smallest hexagon. Now remember when these cut, they cut both a, I'll show you on the small one. They cut both a hexagon and a frame. We're just using the frame or the hexagon here on the second smallest. All right. And then I'm going to take, I didn't need to get that all set first. I need to put glue on all of these little tabs. See if anybody else has joined us. Okay, so we're going to put glue here. And this makes the liquid glue is the best, I think, because you can move it, or you have a couple of minutes to move things. Well, a few seconds to move it around. So again, I'm going to put this on a line and a line. And then I'm going to take my hexagon, turn it in the right orientation, and lay this down. And if I've gotten it, now I can take, because I've got liquid glue, so now I can move this a bit because I didn't make sure my tabs were pushed down before I started. But because I used the liquid glue, I've got a couple of seconds to move things around. Then I can just go in here with my bone folder and give that a press. Okay, now this will be the top. Remember, this is the top. The pattern's going down. While we've got this here, though, we're going to take the smallest hexagon. I've cut two of the smallest hexagons in Petunia Pop, two of the largest hexagons in Petunia Pop, one in basic white, and then one in basic black, just for the frame. Okay, so I'm going to take the smaller one now, the smaller Petunia Pop. I'm going to glue that. And then I'm going to put this inside my box and try to center that up as best I can. It's not the easiest to do, but it is the inside of your box and nobody's probably going to be really looking. But because we use liquid glue, we've got a minute here to move it. I think I might have got it now. I'm going to move this down a titch. This is being stubborn. Okay, and then I'm going to give that a press. Okay. Now that's going to do two things. It makes it so the inside of my box looks a little nicer. I don't see all those glue tabs. And it gives my box a little bit more strength. Okay, so there's my top. Now to do the bottom, we're going to trim these glue tabs, tiny bit on the angle. We're going to add our glue. And again, I'm going to fold that down, bring this up, and bring those sides together until it forms, both pieces form a nice right angle. Okay. All right, so now we've got this. Go ahead and press these down so that they're where I want them. Okay. Then I'm going to glue these again, just like I did the last ones. All right. Trying to make sure I get into the corners of those tabs. You don't want to over glue because you don't want the glue oozing out. Then you got to try and get in there with a small adhesive eraser and clean it up. Okay, so now we've got those. The glue is on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this right inside my box. Okay. Probably should have put my glue on afterward. That's what I did before. Okay. Go ahead and add a little bit more. The good news is that glue has already started to dry. Okay. So now I've got this. Again, I'm going to put it in the pointy orientation because I find that easier for me. And then I'm just going to set this down on here. Take a look at that. Remember, I've got a second or two to move it. Make sure that my box bottom is where I want it. Okay, now I can take, because I've got a complete box, give that a good rub with my thumb. I've got some good sturdiness here that I can press against that all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to let that sit for a minute to dry before I put this piece in. So I'm just going to set this aside. Now we're going to bring in this piece and decorate. Okay, and then that gives our box plenty of time to dry before we try to pull it apart. In fact, I'm going to take and I'm going to put a nice block on top of that and set it aside just to give it a little bit of added weight. All right, so now we've got this hexagon, and again, this is the smallest one in basic white. I'm going to bring in some ink. We're going to use a little bit of Old Olive. You like that box, huh, Tracy? It actually isn't very hard to put together, and once you get it figured out and you start making a few, then you can just keep going. Okay, I'm going to put this at a pointy. I could mask this off, but I don't want to do that. I kind of liked this not masked. Okay, so now I've got some ground. And now I want some sky, so I'm going to take some Azure Afternoon. That was Old Olive in case I forgot to say. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the Azure Afternoon. And I'm not trying to go for a solid. I just want a little bit of color, a little bit of sky, a little bit of ground. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and clean our glass mat. This is what I love about the glass mat. Take that, clean that off. Dries pretty fast. All right, So we've got that. Now we can start stamping on here. So we're going to stamp our grass. We're going to stamp an old olive. And again, these came from Musical Jamboree. If you can get there right here. But you could use those little flowers. I'm going to take and stamp this off on a piece of scratch paper. And then some more down here. And I'm going to take the smaller one over here. And I'm going to put some over here. And maybe there. All right. Most of this is going to be covered by our Triceratops. Sarah, that's her name. And now we can set this aside. We have just a tiny bit of stamping left to do on here, but before I stamp on here, I need to get my Triceratops stamped and ready to go. Okay, 7:30. All right, so I've got a piece of scrap here, basic white. I'm going to take my Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm going to stamp Sarah right here. Okay, so I've got Sarah. And then we're going to set that aside for a moment. We're going to bring in some Petunia Pop and basic black cardstock. We're going to get our embossing kit, embossing editions, and our Versamark. Okay. And we'll use our embossing buddy on those. And then we're going to take the words hello and love. We're going to do hello on the black. Put on our embossing, a white embossing powder. Set that aside for a minute. Then I'm going to grab love. And I'm going to stamp that down and pour on my embossing powder. Okay. And we'll go ahead and pour that back in our tray. I just use a coffee filter in my tray just makes it a tiny bit easier for me. Put our Versamark away. And we'll get out our heat tool and heat that up. Grab our piece. I like to warm up the back. Okay, that one's done. Bring in the black. Heat up the back. And now we're finished. Okay. So now with these, we're going to color our Triceratops. And actually, you guys, I've already done it, so I'm just going to show you the colors that I used. Here's my Triceratops. She's already cut out. I used crumb cake for her body, Petunia Pop on the spots and on some of the little horns, Bubble Bath around here and on the horn. Okay, those are the colors that I used. And then I took a Wink of Stella glitter pen and I did up her toenails and a little bit around her hair, or this mane, whatever you would call that. And then I cut her out with the coordinating die just to save us some time. And the hello and love, we're going to cut with the meant to be dies. So if you put these on here with this little heart, just so, line that up like that, run it through your die cut machine. Okay, well, I can't grab it. It doesn't want to come out of its tray. Sorry about reaching in front of you. Then you get this, okay? And then you're going to repeat that with the hello. If you put it on there just so, then you'll get that. I did those ahead just to save us a little bit of time. So these are done. And those are the pieces that we needed to see where we're going to stamp. So now we're going to take our scenery piece here, and we're going to use some basic gray ink. And we're going to put Sarah down here. And you might not be particular, but if you know me, I am. So I want my balloons to come off over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Sarah down here. And I'm going to move this and I'm going to put a little pencil mark about right there. Okay. Then I'm going to take my balloon string from Darling Dinos. I'm going to ink it up a little over halfway. And I'm going to stamp that down here. And then I'm going to ink it up the rest of the way. And I'm going to stamp it down here. Okay. Now I'm ready to start adding my pieces here. So I'm going to take little Sarah. I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we're going to add her to our little piece. I like to add her so that I know where to put the rest. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and this way I know I went a little far here. So I'm actually going to put her feet down just a little bit to cover up the balloon ends because I don't want them sticking out the bottom. And then we're going to take some glue dots for the balloons because I want Sarah to look like she's in front of the balloons, so I don't want to put the balloons at the same height. And then I'm going to take and put my love on first. Like so. And then I'm going to add hello. About right there. Okay, so now we have this. We're ready to add this to our box. Let's bring back in our box. Let's bring in our frame. I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue. I'm going to put a dot at each intersecting line. And then I'm just going to put a dot, 2 dots in between. Okay, dot, 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 not a lot. And then we're going to take this. We're going to make sure we've got the top of the box. And we're going to try to center that up as best we can. Looks like I'm just a tiny hair off here. And then we'll press that down with our finger. Okay, we've got that. I'm going to walk my finger all the way around to give that glue time to adhere and spread out. Okay. Then I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to look to see where my seam is. Here's my seam. So I want this to be the bottom. So I'm going to put this in the orientation that I want. And then I'm just going to set this in here. Line that up. And then press it in. How did I get a little bit off there? I don't know. Okay, come on. I don't know how I managed that, but there we go. Fixed. Okay. So now there is the top of our box. Now let's add, oh, where did I put those? Where did I put my open pack? Goodness gracious, what did I do with those? Hang on. They got to be right here. I have an open pack of those and I don't really want to open. Oh, they're right here in front of my nose. I mean, literally in front of my nose. They just were a snake that would have bit me. Okay. So I'm going to take one of these birds from the Dragonflies and Birds. And I'm just going to, this one has a glue dot that's sticking out where I don't want it. I'm going to fold that over. I don't want to see that glue dot. Okay. And then we're just going to set our bird down. Okay. So there is the decorations on our box. Now, if you would like, let's see, we need to put this in. So we're going to take our, I'm going to use liquid glue. So hopefully I can move it around. Get it in there just right. Maybe if I do it this way. There, I can see a little better. There we go. Okay, that went in a whole lot easier. All right, now, if you like, you can put a message on the inside. So what I did with this one is I took roar means you're the best in dinosaur. Okay, so I'm gonna stamp roar. I'm gonna grab the to the point label punch and a piece of white cardstock. And I am going to punch this out. Okay. When you put this in the bottom, it needs to be in the flat orientation. Okay. So we're going to take our roar means dinosaur. Roar means, and of course you could do whatever you wanted. So we're going to take the, I don't know why I didn't have this out already. I have the you're the best out, but not this part. Silly me. Okay, let's get a block for that. I don't need that great big one. I don't do well when I do that. Okay, so I'm just going to pick that up so it doesn't stick to my glass mat. Then I'm going to do this part in black, the tuxedo black ink, which I put over here. And then I need Petunia Pop. So we're going to take our black. I'm going to ink that up. Roar means in dinosaur. Let's set this down. And I'm going to put this right in the center. Let that soak into the paper for a minute. Okay. And then I'm going to take You're the Best. Ink that up in Petunia Pop without sticking my finger on the ink pad. That would be lovely. And then we're going to position this. I'm going to get this a little bit closer to me. You're the best. Again, I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want to distort the image. Let that sit for a minute. And now I can pop this into the bottom of my box. Okay? And I am just going to do that with a bit of Stampin' Seal. And now I'm going to find the bottom seam of my box here. So I want to put this bottom seam with this. So I want to make sure this is right where, in the right orientation before I press it down. And I need to get my fingers out of the way so I can see. So I want to line up those points. And I didn't, I moved it. Ooh. Actually, it might be easier if you put this on before you put that panel in. That would probably be the smarter way to go. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I've got my bottom seam here. I know I've got my bottom seam here because I lined that up. And now my box bottom goes right in easily. Okay. And there you have it. So the ones that I made previously, I'll bring those in now and I'll show you what those look like. So I've got this one with the Brontosaurus and no designer series paper. And then I have the T-Rex in Azure Afternoon. This is Shy Shamrock and Petunia Pop. And then this is Azure Afternoon with Summer Splash. Okay. All right, those are the boxes that I've made. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Hi, Laura. So glad you could join us. So that is what I have for you tonight. Now, as a reminder to those of you who watch on Facebook, I will not be live on Tuesday. I will be at the senior swim meet. And so then I will see you back here next Thursday night at 7 here on YouTube. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. If you like the projects that I made, go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment, share with your crafty friends, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much.